Hello and welcome to the video lecture associated with data dictionary facilities. So data dictionary facilities are pretty much the way you ask the database about itself. So in the example in the textbook, you've got data dictionary views that were associated with Oracle. So if you were in an Oracle environment, you can use things like DBA tables and DBA constraints and DBA users just as information about those. You would use those if you were the DBA or had DBA privileges. That's the database administrator. That means you have full access to the database for all intents and purposes, something that you're probably not going to have when you get started. These DBA tables, there are actually three different layers, different levels of security associated with data dictionary facilities in systems like Oracle and SQL Server. Since in Oracle, there are user tables, so anybody that's a user of the database who owns tables would be able to use the user tables data dictionary view to see information about the tables that they own. There's also the all underscore tables types of views, which would show all users, and again, all users have access to that as well. That would show the user all of the tables they have access to, not just the ones that they own. And then there are the DBA, which is the list of all of the tables in the database. So you see the different layers of security. There's user, so I can see my own stuff. So it's user underscore tables. Then there would be the all underscore tables to see all of the tables I have access to. And then there's DBA tables where I can see all of the tables in the database. So you can use these just as if you were using tables. So you can think of these as tables. So if I wanted to see the usernames of the people who own tables, I would actually do a join between DBA tables and DBA users. We're not going to get into that, but just so you should know that. SQL Server has very similar types of data dictionary facilities. All of the big database management systems that are out there have some kind of facility that allows you to ask the database about itself. It's called the metadata. It's the data about the data, and you have to be able to query it. For instance, if we were to go into Microsoft Access, and actually what we would have to do is go into options. So if you go to the file and then go to options, I'll show you where to find this stuff. So you go to current database, there's this navigation options button. So if you click on that, you can click this to show system objects. And the system objects, for all intents and purposes in Microsoft Access, are the data dictionary facilities. So if I click OK and I click OK, when I open up my tables list, you'll see that now I can actually see these MSys type of objects. So if you go into MSys objects, if I double click on that, now I can actually see, if you look at the names, right, I can see all the things, all the objects that I have in here. So there's a whole lot of information in here. This is a little database, but boy, it still has a whole bunch of information in it. So you can see in there are things that are not associated with your tables necessarily. There are queries, there are functions. Here are tables listed, right? So you can see that this is the customer does business. Let's see if we can find one that's much more suitable. So here's our customer T table, right? So if we go over, we can check out the parent ID. So the parent ID would say that this is a table, so that's the 251. This is one of those scenarios where, see if we scroll all the way back up, we see the group. When I look at tables, where's my tables object? Let me just sort this, make it easier. So this is an object that I would need to link to itself, right? So here's my tables, there's my 251, 241. So if I look at the skill table, I can see that the skill table's parent is its tables. And that's honestly, when you look at this tables list that we have over here, the way this database knows how to make these appear here is because anything whose parent object is tables gets listed here. Anything whose parent object is queries gets listed here. You can see a whole bunch of information in here. We have modules, we have macros, we've got reports, we've got forms. And notice the naming convention in this database is underscore whatever kind of object it is. So in this case, there's a customer underscore F. So it's the customer's form. If I go into queries, everything is underscore Q. And when I go into tables, everything is underscore T. So you can see the naming convention used by the author for this database. So this is, you know, again, kind of cheesy because it is, after all, just a desktop a desktop application, so it's not going to be as robust as something like Oracle and SQL Server, but you can see that it does have its own metadata information in its own tables that you can query. And no, I don't want to save the changes. So, for all intents and purposes, that concludes my video lecture on the data dictionary facilities.